After drawing your landscape, we are going to number it, kind of like a paint by number. Working with your lowest layer, or your layer that's closest to you, go ahead and number that 1, and then as you're moving back, you're going to go to 2, then 3, then 4. My 4s are on the same plane. 5, 6, and then 7. Figure out your middlemost layer. Mine would be 4 because I had 7 layers. You're going to be painting your middle layer, so your middle ground, with just solid paint. So whatever color you choose for your monochromatic painting, your one color, you're going to use that paint straight from the bottle, so it's just pure color. There's no tint and there's no shade to it. So I'm painting my layer 4. I actually have 2 hills in my layer 4, and I'm, again, just painting its plain, true color. Anytime you're painting, you want to really focus on staying inside of your lines. So you can do what I did here, where I flipped my canvas upside down, because it's easier to paint what's above my brush than what's below my brush. So remember that as you start your landscape. As I'm finishing up my 4th layer, or my middle ground, I'm next going to start moving into my background, my layer 5. My layer 5 is going to be a tint. When you tint a color, that means you're adding white to it, or trying to make it lighter. As I move back into the distance, or back into space, I want my purple color to get lighter. So to do that, you can see I'm using my brush, I'm scraping the side, and I'm adding a little bit of white paint to my color at a time. I can always add more, but I can't take away. So as you're trying to tint your color, just add a little bit of white at a time. Test it out on your canvas, give it a stroke, and see if it is in fact a lighter purple than your middle ground, your layer 4. If it is, go ahead and paint that layer with a tint of your color. That means just a little bit lighter than your color. Notice the speed at which I'm painting. I slow down when I'm along my edge, and then I speed up when I'm in the very center of my shape, my hill, my mountain. Next, I'm going to move back into the distance even farther, and this is going to be my layer 6. I want layer 6 to be an even lighter tint than my layer 5. So as I go back in the distance, each layer is going to get lighter and lighter by me controlling my paint. It's cut off there at the top, but I'm painting my sky, and this sky is a lighter purple than my layer 5, that mountain. As I'm finishing up here, I'm going to move on to my last layer, my layer 7. Most of your layer 7 may be your sun, or your moon if you have one, or if you have water, you're going to want that to be your lightest layer. So right now I'm making my last tint by adding even more white to my color and lightening it up. Next, I want to show you how to shade. So working with your layers below your middle ground, or below your level 4, we're going to start shading our paint. To shade a color means to add black paint to your color, to darken it up. So I added just a little tiny bit of black to my color. You're probably going to learn real fast that black is very dominant. It'll take over your color. So when you go to make your shade, make sure you're only adding a tiny little bit of black to your color at a time. And I say a tiny little bit, just the tip of your brush should have a little bit of black paint on it. Black will take over. You'll learn that very quick. If you accidentally add too much black to your paint, you can save it by adding more of your original color to your mix. So for me, it would be purple. But let's say you went too black, too fast, you can always just then start over. Clean your brush, clean your palette, get your purple again, and add a lot less black this time. So as you can see, I'm going really slow as I am working towards my outline, and then I speed up when I'm in the center. We're going to be using tempera paint for this, so you'll notice that you'll probably need a couple coats on each layer. That'll help to get rid of those brush strokes that you're seeing. So just know that you're going to be doing a couple layers for each layer. And when I say layers, I mean a couple coats. So you're going to have to paint it twice and maybe 3 times. Looking back at my previous layer, my layer 4, I can tell that that layer needs another coat or 2. It's probably going to need 3 or 4. That was that pure color straight from the bottle, layer 4. I'm still working with my layer 3 right here. I have a left side and a right side because the water is breaking it up. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward this part real quick and finish layer 3. Next, I'm going to be painting layer 2. I want layer 2 to be an even shade darker than layer 3. So I added a little bit more black to that shade that I already had going. So my hopes is that layer 2 is a little bit darker than layer 3 was. If it's not, you can always add a little bit more black paint. Notice that my brush is not soaking wet with paint. So I take a second after I've mixed and I rub my brush along the side of my palette so that way I can get some of the paint off. Notice I'm using the side of a flat brush to get that nice clean edge. And lastly, I'm going to go ahead and start to create the shade for layer 1. Layer 1 needs to be a little bit darker than layer 2 was. Layer 1 is going to be almost black. It's still going to have that original value, that original color, that purple in there. So this is a blackish purple. If you have something like a tree, it is probably going to be the same value. Always paint your backgrounds first and then go on top with your tree. You're not going to want to paint around a tree. So as I finish up, you're going to notice that my colors need more layers. And there you go. I went ahead and painted each layer a couple times. So it's like second coats. So have fun with it. And let's end by talking about how to properly clean your palettes and your brush. First, to get your palettes clean, use that wet brush and pretty much just brush the surface of your palette. You're going to brush away that paint if it's underneath the water. Please don't turn the water on at a high pressure. You should just have a low trickle. If not, it's going to splash all over you and your clothes. Let's talk about cleaning your brushes next. You can't see it really well, but you should take the palm of your hand and then do circles with your brush into the palm of your hand. And don't forget to rub the sides of the brush. Thanks.